Hi everybody, this is Shaima Arafat. I'm here. I'm presenting my first attempt in tackling the electronic voting using blockchain. You could say this is work under progress or kind of draft of what I'm planning to do. My first interest in the e-voting problem was when I read some article news in 2020 about an MIT paper that warns people from using e-voting system using blockchains and consider the case is closed. The articles was thinking whether we should consider the case is closed with especially with Vitalik Buterin saying differently. And nowadays, when I got interested again in e-voting, I searched for the original paper and I found that Roland Rivest, the famous author of the public RSE protocol, in public RSE encryption and digital signature, was not just someone they took his opinion in the article, but one of the authors of the paper. By the way, they took also the opinion of Bruce Schoner, and he was against it. In fact, was not the only paper who warned from this. From using blockchains is not as appealing as it appears. There was another paper in 2018 about the use of automated code. I mean smart contracts as long as with its benefits, it could introduce also a vulnerability by code buying smart contract. In fact, the code buying smart contract, they call it dark DAOs, could take advantage of a feature called execution attest available in Intel SGX, which give an attestation that the code, certain code has been executed already. So the code buyer will not pay the vote seller until they see the code receives the automated code smart contract receives the code the execution attest from the Intel SGX. I mean, people usually in physical elections say that they could take the money, the bribe money, and then vote whatever they like. Here, it could not be possible because the vote buyer will make his or her code vote instead of you. Okay, and maybe it could work also if they hacked your device. In fact, the authors of this paper followed the thread again this year. In fact, this paper, second paper, is finished in GitHub. You will find in about 1 month. You may find some contracts or code pieces updated only 2 weeks ago. They implemented the code that perform this bribery vote buying and two versions of it. They also, at the same time, since I mentioned Vitalik, they made another paper that may solve this problem partially by making the code, introducing a parameter called complete knowledge, CK, sorry, where the code only let you vote if you have a complete knowledge of the voter ID or all details. Maybe, but they implemented it only in Android, and I think something else maybe on trusted execution environment, but not on Intel. As they presented this paper exactly at the same time, they produced the two papers together, and you may search for the other one. Anyways, let's get back to the status quo at all in 2020. I found a paper that says I mean to compare the situation. Those two previous papers warned people, and there are others also, from the defects that may happen in using blockchains for voting. I found this paper in MDB. It says that the systematic review found about 121 papers, and they are divided this by different blockchains. Not that You may also know that any DAO, any blockchain, many blockchains or DAOs use voting for the governance. But here we are talking about massive voting for political elections, or maybe some of the solutions or papers are for organizations. Large corporations that may use also electronic vote, some kind of form of electronic voting or online voting. So here is the status quo in 2020. What happened from 20, and also it's interesting to see those case studies that I don't claim that I have read them all, but I will, for different actual cases in election, through actual elections in countries. I have never knew that Russia has a failure case in Moscow, and Japan, also Switzerland seems a success. Different states in USA. Some of them, Estonia is still improving their systems from before until now. There are some places that started but failed, and stopped, but there are other places that keeps improving their systems and still using it till now. Okay, now what the status quo in 2023 nowadays? This paper tells you that there are about 50 papers in like 100 or 300 papers, as they see here. There are 50 papers in this journal, and 20 to 20, 30 to 20 in different journals. Their collection from 150 to 300 papers only in this year. And there are different countries are still trying. I told you that Estonia has started from before and still till now using updated versions of blockchains. Interesting, other countries have started trying, like Jordan. I have never knew before that Jordan started a blockchain e-voting system. South Korea, about 80%, as the article said, and in fact they had published a request for for implementation recently, that for implementations to their online voting system, but obviously they have finished it, as the article says. Okay, what is my work plan? I plan to first make a thorough literature survey. This is just a start. I have to read more, of course, and find the impossibility results, if there is any. I mean, the first thing the first thought you had in mind, there are 1, 2, 3 criteria, and so on, n criteria that have to be satisfied for a voting system to be successful. And you start to search for whether there are any impossibility results between those criteria before to know where you are heading. Okay, then study also actual countries trials, what pitfalls to avoid. I have read about 3 or 4 pitfalls up till now, from Georgia, from I think North Carolina, and the others, and thought about them, how to avoid them in my design, and so on. And then I tried to formalize an abstract model. Then after the abstract model, you can suggest the most suitable slot technique in every slot. Talking about impossibility results, I found this paper that I still have, that I think may help find the impossibility results, which called chain integrity. It's from 2019. It's about it defines 9 criteria, sorry, but that describe that makes an blockchain voting system secure. Okay, and I have read a lot of papers till now, but let me the paper that I have finished reading is one about malleability, but unfortunately I don't think it is that useful. Malleability, as you know, whether the the same transaction that you are trying to verify could be altered, and then still the signatures and everything is correct. Of course, if ever going to design a special purpose blockchain for your voting system, you have to make sure that there are no malleability in it. Otherwise, someone even working in the system could alter the transaction and make the signature still verified. Okay. Another one is using the IBM cloud-based Hyperledger fabric, and one is used post-quantum verifiable oil and vinegar variables. The one who using the IBM cloud was the first one I read that employs what is actually expected is to use zero knowledge proofs or techniques in general to solve such problems. You have, I think here also uses Bloom filters. Yes, use Bloom filters, not just Merkle trees. As expected, this Hyperledger IBM Cloud paper uses zero knowledge techniques. Another one suggests using the use of post-quantum techniques and verifiable random functions. I did have the thought of using verifiable random functions or some kind of shuffling techniques, whatever techniques that used in leader election. I thought would this be possible to do something with the voter ID so that we can only the voter can know the true ID, but any other one on the system not. I'm not sure what I'm going to head through, but this paper got me an interesting info that I have never knew before about the oil and vinegar variables. It is something like I found an article, though it drifted me a little from the general topic of e-voting. It is a post-quantum version of when we talk in zero knowledge, when you study zero knowledge, you know about all the multivariable equations, and that all reductions we used to make in rounds is based on the fact that we choose our multivariable polynomial as multilinear, meaning that every variable is only of degree 0 or 1 in each term. The oil and vinegar variables use second degree terms in the polynomial. That make them a lot of the reductions we used to do are not possible here, but make the technique post quantum. Maybe I'm not sure what I'm going to use in later on. Anyways, let me tell you about what I have read till now. The papers that I think could help in checking the impossibility results and the criteria are the first one from MIT, because it includes different criteria, and it led me to another one by Berkeley University that discusses the ballot marking devices and the risks. And there I found led me to another paper, although it is old, but it defines the terms that used, like definition of contestability, definition of the evidence verifiable voting. It is the idea that what you are trying to prove in details. I will get back to this later. Another one that I have just found a few, but I haven't completely read, is about quantum voting and violation of Gebhardt-Settle with impossibility theorem. This one is discussing impossibility results, and it is about from the branch in computer science and game theory. This is 2023. And I'm not sure whether it is peer reviewed yet or not, but there is another one that discusses the violation of the arrow theorem. This track, I haven't read a lot about it, but I think it is valid. The arrow theorem comes from political science more than from computer science about elections, and it seems so that this Gerbert Sitter with theorem is also from political science about general elections in general, and those papers discuss whether the electronic voting systems or blockchain voting system will violate or solve these impossibility results. This could be an interesting track, because when you study blockchain, even when you see the risk, you still find that automated voting or electronic voting could solve some problems that is never solved in physical voting. Like if you think, let your thoughts free without restricting it to a system, you may think of the requirements that I wrote here for voting. For example, the first thing for me I thought about is that in true voting system, in physical voting, real life voting systems, you get to vote yourself, correct? Make sure while you hold the paper in your hand is that your vote have been put in the box correctly, but you have no way of making or evidence to be sure that your vote is counted. Like when people file law cases claiming that the elections have been forged and those boxes have been switched. If you get out the votes from the box, you have no idea, no way of knowing, of telling, even you the voter have no way of telling if this is your vote or not. There is no handwriting, even you can know your handwriting, it is just a mark. So why electronic voting systems can provide a solution to this, because whatever ID you are going to use, even if it is not your actual ID, it must be you could verify. There is a way you could verify. On the other hand, you pay a price that there are other factors that cannot be satisfied, that are more pros to the physical voting or paper ballot voting, as they call it here, to electronic in contrast to electronic voting. One of them is that they say about the vote machines, BMD, is that if you are as a voter told the officers that you have pressed on the screen, for example, nominate client A, and then the vote was printed out as B. You have no way of proving this, and you cannot, the officer can just believe you, even if he could believe you for this second, because he is behind you and you could change your vote, and he saw you. But what if you said this after the end of the election? Why should the system believe you or the government believe you? What proof you have? It works both ways. Yeah, you have to define proof. I call this, when I first thought, non-repudiation, that even the voter, if the voter could say that in my ideal system, in my thinking of my mind, I think of a system where you can find votes, true actual votes, accompanied with a number. Only you as a voter can check your number, can know your number, your ID, a different ID. You can know your ID and check that your vote, the vote with you in the same transaction with your ID is exactly what you voted. Okay, but what if there is a dispute? Who should we believe? If you go to the court and say, I voted, this is my different ID, my math ID, and this I didn't vote this way. Why should the court believe you? There must be some evidence tying you to the vote, so that even if you could lie, it is possible that the loser could bribe enough voters to go to the court and say that we voted for A, but we find our votes on the on the blockchain for B. There must be a way to prove if you are going to do it, if you are going to make it a verifiable voting system. This is, I called this in my writing, non-repudiation, as I know non-repudiation is claiming the reverse, or denying the service. But in papers, in the Berkeley paper and followed by the MIT papers, they are calling it contestable, that the vote is contestable if you can trace it back. They are also defining something called software independence and other factors. Something also is interesting. It's trivial that there was a case when all the vote records were deleted by the university that kept them in Georgia. That was in 2017. And how this is avoided by using blockchains, because there will always be a distributed, repeated copies of all the votings, or at least some fingerprints of them. Another case is that absent voters. The system should not be able to use absent voters who did not vote for their own interest. There was a case in North Carolina where someone used called the absent voters and make people sign as witnesses when they were not witnesses. If we are going to create another ID for each voter to vote with it, and we depended on the voter checking his new ID that he know, and that his vote is correct or her vote is correct. What if someone faked IDs for absent voters who did not vote and vote for all of them? The system must be able to check and verify that. I mean, you are an active voter who care about this election, so you will go to vote and check your new ID, and check your final vote transaction, and that it's as you voted. But what about the voters who did not care, or for some reason decided to not attend this election, to not vote in this election? What if someone took all their votes and voted, created fake IDs and voted for them? The system should be able to detect this, whatever the way you think you are going to do it. Okay, as I said, I found here eight criteria, and there are papers I showed you that defines other. I finally should formalize all these criteria from my thinking and from other papers to find the final version. The abstract attempt I'm trying in my imaginary system is that we suppose that the voter will have some software, whether it is I don't know yet where it is going to be, on his mobile, or on the on a voting machine, or on the voting system, that creates a hiding and binding ID. Hiding and binding meaning that this new ID that we are calling HBID no one but the original voter could deduce the original ID from the HBID. But still, anyone could verify that the HBID is for some voter who exists in the system and haven't voted before. Okay? So this hiding and binding ID, HBID, is going to be verified if it is there, and then the voter is going to insert his vote and sign it with this hiding and binding ID. The signature is supposed to be binding signature, meaning that it binds the vote to the ID, but not hiding, because we want both parties to be able to check the signature and to check the correctness of the vote. Now we have a transaction from all these parts. This transaction still have to be re-verified again and again. Sorry, from whatever we are going to use a public blockchain to enter transactions on it, or we are going to use a private blockchain and then put our permission private blockchain, then put some fingerprints every now and then, or hashes on a public blockchain. How we are going to make different copies from the storage. These are all steps that like slots from in this abstract model. What is that technique, zero knowledge technique we are going to use to make it hiding and binding, and what is are going to use in place of hiding. Also, all of this must be above of all of this, there must be an audit system. Auditability is asserted in both papers, MIT paper and Berkeley paper, and maybe the third I haven't read. In every system, and even in cross-chain protocols, there must be some kind of risk management or auditing system that check for the consistency of everything, for any ad hoc errors. Like, for example, the buying the code buying smart contract we have discussed. It is this code vote automatically on your behalf. If we have our voting system checking at ad hoc instances that he is treating interacting with a human, not a code, this vote buying technique will not work. Other systems, there are systems in the literature that try to solve this voting technique, this vote buying technique, by making the voter able to vote once and more than once, so that even if the vote, if he voted according to the vote buyer, he could re-vote again before the end of the election time. But this may have some risks, some other risks like double spending. It depends on the system design, anyways. But I think the fact that checking the humanity could solve the problem of dark DAOs. Another thing is checking for consistency. Like all people from some age are at the end of the day, if we have the election, when, for example, on week, or you could, or even on day, at every 3 hours, we could check that all voters from certain district, the counts are exactly as the true counts of the votes. The voter from women, the voter from youth, and all. We could check the consistency of every parameter to make sure that there are no absent votes that have been added to the system, or something else. If we found some case of double spending, we could impersonally ask the voter. If you have some problem on using or afraid from voting through the Android, or even voting through the machines, we could after making this binding ID, we are just hiding and binding ID I mentioned here. What if we could print 2 copies of an empty paper ballot, like making a hybrid system between blockchain and paper ballots, and get this HBID and print 2 papers where the voter could sign by his hand, choose a vote by his hand. The HBID should be printed on the 2 copies, and the voter mark his choice or her choice on the 2 copies, keep one and give one to the officer to the employer on the voting district. This way, it is like normal physical ballots, but you have solved the problem of that no one can switch the boxes or throw away some votes from the boxes. Because how would you get, if you go to the court with your copy, if it is not found on the system, then the system has a problem. If it is faked or forged, you still have your copy as evidence. You can. The idea depends that you can never get another print of a fake copy of this paper. I mean, this is just like ad hoc thinking. I'm not sure if this hybrid system could solve the problem or not yet. I guess that's all. These are my first thoughts or attempt, as I said. Thank you.